Hello? Hello?
Joey, is it your birthday?
No, Rosanna, call me back in 12 days. I'm doing an interview. My birthday is the 12th of September.
The 12th of September, Joe?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. What interview are you doing? Am I interrupting you, Joe?
Yes, goodbye. You know who Rosanna De Soto is? Remember the movie La Bamba?
Yeah.
She
Is that a character she's doing?
No.
No. What?
She's a
Is she an older lady?
That's irrelevant.
Okay.
But anyway, what were we talking about?
All right. Okay. This is going to be a fun one. Hey, Originals listeners. You ever hear that expression, never meet your idols? I think there's actually some truth to that. Having spent many, many hours in my teens preening about in the mirror and lip-syncing to Sympathy for the Devil, and then, years later, interviewing Mick Jagger, which was a singularly disheartening, unpleasant experience, I can see how this is not bad advice. However, had I taken that one experience to heart and only ever agreed to interview people whose work I could take or leave, yes, I might now have a binder full of Mark Wahlberg profiles, but I never would have had the pleasure of spending a day with today's guest, Joe Pantoliano. So I'm officially changing the expression to never meet Mick Jagger. I happen to not only love Joey Pants, I once wanted to be a Joey Pants. When I was a teenager, I actually wanted to be an actor, but I was way too chicken shit to actually pursue it. I wasn't specifically aware of the stats, but I knew how improbable success as an actor would be. I did recently read that of those who have actually made it, like people who've been in a big Hollywood project that's earned them their SAG card, 90% are out of work at any given time. Guys like Joey Pants may not command the salaries that a Tom Hanks or Bradley Cooper do, but in their success, which in this case is steadily working for 42 years, as Joey Pants has, they are extreme outliers. He is, as we'll discuss, a character actor, and like your Buscemi's or your Allison Janney's, one whose name and face most of us recognize. And this is specifically because these are actors who tend to make anything they're in way better. And this shit is not easy. One of the things I didn't fully understand until reading Joey's second memoir, Asylum, is that the supporting characters in a lot of very good, very successful scripts aren't particularly fleshed out. What a great character actor is able to do best is what Joey describes as knowing how to put meat on a one-dimensional, underwritten bone. Risky Business, The Fugitive, Memento, Bound, Bad Boys, The Matrix, Daredevil, and of course, his Emmy-winning role in The Sopranos. This is a man who brought a lot of meat to work. This is The Originals, and I'm your host, Andrew Goldman. I spent decades interviewing celebrities for magazines, the vast majority of whom shared very little of themselves, were only there to sell something. So I created The Originals to interview cultural figures whose work I loved and actually had something interesting to say. For me, Joey Pants is far more than just a guest. He's like an ideal. Exactly why I created this show. And guess what? Turns out Joey Pants lives 15 minutes from me in Connecticut, and he invited me over to his house. Welcome to Season 4 of The Originals, produced in proud partnership with Los Angeles Magazine. Joe Pantoliano, welcome to The Originals.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I don't know why I'm here. I've nothing original about me.
I know why you're here. I don't know. You possibly don't know why we're in the show, but we happen to be in your house.
That's
so
right.
You know why you're there. I hope you know why you're in your house, because it'll be a challenging interview if you don't.
I knew that part I know.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of the work. I'm going to play a scene from 1983's Risky Business. This is a scene in which you are confronting Tom Cruise in his driveway. You play Guido the Killer Pimp, and we're going to hear the voices of two prostitutes, played by Rebecca De Mornay and Shara Denise, heckling Guido from an upstairs window.
Excuse me. What can I do for you? Who are you? Joel. You the kid I chased last night? Something I can help you with? You know you shouldn't drive like that. People get hurt all the time. Stupid. You smart kid? Huh? I mean, you look like a smart kid. I'm okay. Where the girls, inside? I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Joe, the door's locked. You're starting to give me a stomachache.
Good. I hope it hurts.
Open the door or what?
We don't go home. We don't need you anymore.
Look, shut your mouth.
No. Listen, well, maybe we don't work for you anymore.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Right.
Then who you work for, huh? Who? You don't work for me.
Who? You don't work for me.
Maybe we work for Joel now.
She's only kidding. I hope so. Look, Joel, you look like a smart kid. So I'm going to tell you something which I'm sure you'll understand. Now, you're having fun now, right? Right, Joel? Time of your life. In a sluggish economy, never, ever fuck with another man's livelihood. Now, if you're smart, like I hope you are, you're not gonna make me come back here.
I'm watching you, and two things occur to me. The first one is it's a very interesting movie, but it's a very entertaining movie. I watched it with my 11-year-old son, which was a mistake because it's dirtier than I remember, and it's very funny. And you are unforgettable. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you look different. And then I read your book, and I find out that actually subsequent to that, you had a nose job. You have a beautiful nose, might I say.
What, this one or the other one?
I think the new one actually, it's so funny because I looked at it and I was like, huh. Was there ever sort of a like...
It was movie. It was that fucking movie.
Jennifer Grey, has written a memoir about how she basically cut too much off of her nose. Is it, you didn't worry that this is part of my instrument? Is this nice big Italian Hoboken schnoz?
I was a leading man trapped in the body of a character actor. And I wanted to eliminate character so that I could play. I didn't want to play bad guys, right? So there's a two-shot. I think that scene, there's a nose-to-nose, what they call in the business a 50-50.
Yeah.
And Tom has got a very prominent nose, but my nose...
Well, he looked different too, right?
But my nose out-warped his fucking nose, for sure. And I remember thinking, that's it. So I told this plastic surgeon, and I said... was my nose broken? He says, do you think God would give you a nose like that on purpose? and so I had the procedure done, and basically I wound up playing bad guys with small nose.
I mean, I wondered about that because, I think you are frequently referred to as a character actor. I did, in the business, when you think of yourself as a leading man, is there at some point, does somebody have to have an intervention and say, Joe, I know how you think about yourself, but I think that people see you more as a character?
No, they don't. I've never had that experience. I remember making the conscious decision because I was going up for leading roles and not getting them. And I thought, well, I want to have a career in show business so that I'm going to go after these other roles. I'm going to be a character actor. I can make a living doing that. And I made that decision.
So did you and Tom make a pact after seeing that one shot? Because he looks different. His teeth are different. His nose seems different. Did you guys say, were you watching the screening and were like...
No, we never had a conversation. I was too worried about my nose to worry about his.
I thought that we would start with the beginning somewhat. Now, I have an interesting mother. I haven't talked about her much on the show, but I had Barry Sonnenfeld on. I don't know if you're at all familiar.
Oh, I read his book. I loved his book.
I loved his book too. His mother, Kelly. I don't know if you remember this. At 5 years old, Barry Sonnenfeld's father says, come in, your mother is beside herself. She's going to kill herself unless you tell her not to. At 5 years old, this kid is expected to talk his mother off a ledge. And she said, Barry, I just want to die. And yeah, this is all part of the fun in the Sonnenfeld house. And then we had David Chase, whose mother was obviously the inspiration for Livia Soprano. tell me about your mother, because your mother is interesting.
God bless them all. You know what they say? If it isn't one thing, it's your mother. You know, my mom was a very complicated woman. You know, enormous room in her heart for love. She, in my adult life and through the work I've done, through the evolution of living and overcoming the emotional trauma and unresolved trauma as a child, I came to understand that my mother's love was conditional. And as long as I loved her and she was number one, then it was okay. And it all changed. Once I hit puberty, I became the enemy. I was her confidant.
Mary was your mother's name, correct?
Yeah, Mary was my mother. And then Dominic was my father. And Florio was cousin Flory, who, as it turns out, may have been actually my biological father.
Yes.
And that was my mom's third cousin. We're still delving into that, figuring that out. But, you know.
Oh, you're not? I mean, when I read your book and your mother, I mean, this was something that your mother, in a moment of pique at your father, Monk, flung at you in a grocery store.
Yeah.
What happened?
This is the abbreviated version. I went to the federal holding facility in New York City on the West Street when I was 6 years old to say goodbye to cousin Flory. And I remember talking on the phone through the glass, and he had a gray shirt with a number on it over his chest. And we said goodbye, and he was going off to college, as they called it.
Is that something that a lot of people who went off called it? Was it a joke, or was it actually something to tell somebody about, like, why they're?
It was a wink. It was, I'm 12 years old or 11. Flory comes home from prison, and as a little kid, he was in Atlanta. He went to Atlanta, the federal prison there, and when cousin Flory came home, he stayed with us, and then Daddy Monk went to Florida for some R&R. He had had a heart attack the year earlier, or 2 years earlier. And as a result of that, we wound up in the projects. We were on welfare and we lived in the projects. And
now this is in Hoboken. It wasn't like you were wealthy before. It seemed like, from what you've described, is that your parents actually were not only not good at making money, they were very good at losing money, right?
Yeah.
Gamblers.
Yeah. Well, it's like all disease is environmental. And in that period, the lottery, the numbers, playing the numbers from the mutual handle, all of that stuff, that was an opportunity for them to get ahead. And so everybody, I guess more than others, my family were degenerate gamblers. And so was Flory. And so Flory comes home and Mom, she's building a case to get rid of Monk. And so when he comes back from Florida, she accuses him of infidelity and she throws him out. And in the course of this, she started building a case. I listen to a lot of the stuff that Trump is doing, and it reminds me of my mother.
Really?
Yeah, she's the architect of all of this. And then she plays the victim. But she, was like, Monk was a bum, and if it wasn't for Flory, we'd be out on the street. And by the way, Monk's not even your father, Flory's your father.
And how old are you? 12?
Yeah, I was 12 or 11. I didn't even know what that meant. And then, of course, she took it back out of guilt. And so those next 30 years, it was like nobody would give me the salad.
But so Monk is a very weak, sort of passive guy who gets the shit kicked out of him on a daily basis by your mother. Florio is this handsome, when you described him and described what he went away for, I was thinking, like, this sounds, sometimes I think about movies. I was like, this is very Henry Hill in Goodfellas, kind of the pace, Yeah,
like, Henry Hill wanted to be like Flory. I mean, Flory was, see, the other thing is you have to understand, we never knew. Our family, as a family, myself especially, I never knew what Flory did. I didn't know to what level or degree what he was doing for a living when he came home from prison. A, I know he was home from prison. And B, a lot of the bullies in the neighborhood stopped kicking the shit out of me. And in my neighborhood, having that kind of a status was like being a celebrity.
Yeah.
And so Florio was the father that I really needed at that time. He taught me how to play tennis. You know, he was on the tennis team at Atlanta Federal Penitentiary.
Handsome guy, big, like movie star good looks, right?
Movie star handsome. I mean, he really squandered his life. He wanted to be a wise guy so badly. He got what he wanted. You know, when he got out of prison at 49, he had already spent 21 of his life inside federal penitentiaries. So half of his life from the time that he was like 20. And then when he came home, he told me a story because he'd go to the track. A talent scout saw him at the track and he said, wanted to do a screen test, give him a card and Flo threw it away. Yeah,
Did he throw it away because of the many reasons? You know, I heard when you were in your memoir, it seemed like being a kid who wanted to be an actor in Hoboken was basically akin to being homosexual.
No, it wasn't that. In my case, it was too much to ask for. You know, my Flory was all for it. Flory encouraged me and said, "Look, every move I ever made was the wrong move.
Yeah.
And, you know, and if this is something you want to do it, because the worst that could happen is you fail. Yeah. But at least you tried."
Well, I want to go back for a second. You know, what I was saying was the great irony about your mother accusing your father, and you're using very polite terms. In your book, it seems like, I don't know if she was using these words when you were young, but there was the T word, which I don't think I heard until I was 15, twat.
Yeah. Your mother's twat.
What did she say?
She would, like, if she hurt herself, she stubbed her foot.
Yeah.
Oh, your mother's twat.
No, but the great irony is your mother is accusing your father of he said whores, right?
Who was?
Whores.
Who was? 2 syllables.
Yeah.
You little hooah.
Which is, I think, eventually you get to actually use. I think we hear in The Sopranos a lot of...
Yeah. I stole that from my mom.
But she's accusing your father of fucking these women. I don't know if he is or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was he? Oh, he
absolutely.
Was. Oh, okay, so he was. But the thing is, you have in residence in your house, living on this fold-out couch, an absolutely gorgeous guy who, if she's not fucking him, she wants to fuck him, right?
Well, I think that she was always in love with him. I think my father knew that I wasn't his biological kid. In fact,
so this is settled. It wasn't settled 5 minutes ago.
It was. Well, what's not settled is who's the father. You know, who's your daddy? We don't know because she was fucking a lot of guys.
Oh. You said your mother said the best man in the world ain't good enough for the worst whore. She just hated guys.
My mother was the victim of incest. Her father sexually abused her. And hence, that's why she hated men so much, because of the role model in her own life. And yeah, that's understandable. To many degrees, I felt like I would grow up to be evil. I was concerned that I was going to turn into one of the best man in the world who ain't good enough for the worst whore. Yeah. That all men were scumbags. I think that looking back in my life now, in many respects, why I choose acting is because I love the idea of having a handle on who I was and where I was and what I wanted. I never knew that in life. But when I was building a character, when I was assigned a role in a play or a movie, I could do the research and I could have a rough idea of what I wanted, the kind of character he was, and in between action and cut, I was somewhat in control of that world.
Yeah.
It's like I've been bullshitting my whole life. I lied my way out of all kinds of situations. Yeah. And so I thought, well, acting is convincing somebody that you're telling the truth when you're not. So I thought, yeah, I could do that.
So when you decided to leave Hoboken and went to Manhattan and started taking acting classes, what were you aiming to do?
Success for me. The goal, I just didn't want to live in poverty.
Yeah.
And what was available to me, and when you grow up in the ghetto, right? When you grow up in a dysfunctional, diverse community where the one thing we all have in common is we're dead broke, we're poor, we're on assisted living. The idea of how do I make a living? I also was dyslexic, undiagnosed. So I was either diagnosed either as stupid, lazy, or crazy.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't about a creative art form. It was, how the hell do I get out of here?
Yeah.
How do I get out of here? Can you imagine living in a town, Hoboken, where the skyline is Manhattan? So in the backdrop, you've got these enormous buildings poking up above the buildings that you live in.
Right.
And it's like, it's 2 miles away and unattainable.
Yeah.
And the idea of how do I get ahead?
Yeah.
Organized crime was not an option because Flory would have destroyed me. He,
Oh, really? Yeah.
He put that down. A lot of my friends sold drugs. I worked in a hair shop. I worked at a barber shop. I shined shoes, and I thought that I would become a barber, a hairstylist, but standing on my feet all day was not something I wanted to do. But I always, in the back of my head, I was a closeted actor. I didn't want, because people would say, "Who the fuck do you think you are? You're going to be an actor. You can't be an actor. You know who you are. You know where you're from."
Are you that town's second favorite son behind Sinatra?
Well, Frank Sinatra was quoted as saying, because I played Angelo Maggio. My first big break was doing the remake of From Here to Eternity that resurrected Mr. Sinatra's career.
This was a TV. It was like a miniseries, correct?
TV miniseries, and I got to play the same part. 2 guys from Hoboken playing the same goddamn part. And Sinatra was quoted as saying, "That poor son of a bitch will never be the most famous guy from Hoboken."
You're very, very successful. Have you tend to demean your accomplishments occasionally. You talk.
People have said that to me before.
You talked about the Emmy being like, what did you describe it as?
Oh, I stole that from Bobby Stack. Robert Stack told me the funniest story. I did a series called The Finelli Boys with Ned Eisenberg and Chris Maloney and Richard Libertini. It was a sitcom, and Stack. It was an NBC sitcom, and Stack was doing.
Can you explain to Robert Stack? There's going to be younger people. Robert Stack. Robert
Stack was the Untouchables. But he was a movie actor.
And then Unsolved. He was the voice of Unsolved. Unsolved Mystery.
He was doing Unsolved when he came over and guest spotted on our show, which was a week. You rehearsed for a whole week. He was there for a whole week, and he had all of the most amazing stories. And he told the story like he did the Untouchables. It was the advent of TV, right? Uh-huh. And Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball had they bought Screen Gems. And they talked Robert Stack into playing Elliot Ness. And so when they invented the Emmys around that same time, he gets nominated for Best Actor. Mm-hmm. And he was depressed and humiliated because he wanted to be a movie star. And he gets this Emmy award. And Stack was quoted as saying, "Winning the Emmy is like being the world's tallest midget. Who gives a shit?" And so when my name was called,
and this was quite a field of nominees. There were no slouches among them.
Whatever.
Yeah, all right.
I
beat them all. You vanquished each one of them.
It's bullshit.
Okay.
The awards ceremony is the self-aggrandizement product.
Yeah, but everybody agrees.
Whatever. This is my opinion.
The actors agree it's important.
Yeah, of course.
And I saw you get an Emmy, Joe, and you made a beautiful speech, and you got choked up. So don't tell me it wasn't important to you.
It was important in that for Flory. What I was choked up about was because Florio and the idea. I always thought that this was an interesting story that a bad guy could be so important to a boy. the mistakes that he made and the people that he hurt, but he was still my father.
Yeah.
And he was my mentor. And he told me to follow my dreams. And I followed my dreams, and then my dream came true. And so I owed that to him. And also, full disclosure, right before that award thing happened, they did that in memoriam where they showed all the actors that had passed away that year.
Yeah.
And Gregory Hines was a good friend of mine. And so when I saw Gregory, I got choked up. And then they called my name.
Oh, come on. Really?
Well, that's
a good... I mean, that seems like maybe the Hoboken guy not wanting to show himself as emotional. I would be emotional. I
do emotion for a living.
I know.
I'm not ashamed of my emotions. And in the back of my head, I think, I had... there was this hugely broken part of me. And I think that that success was a drug of choice for me. And that I thought that if I could achieve those goals, that this feeling, and I don't think it was intellectually something I thought about, but somehow unconsciously that if that happened, that this sad feeling would go away. And so when I won the award, it wasn't an antidote.
Interestingly enough, a major depressive episode happened not long after that, right? I mean, do you think that it was related?
Well, I was always depressed.
Yeah.
So it's like, as I talk about in the second book, it's like, it's meditation, medication, masturbation, whatever, it was just making that bad feeling go away. It was jogging for 30 years of my life. But when you peek behind the curtain, you see the machine at work. When you talk about awards and the money that's spent just to get nominated.
Yeah. I love both of your books. You have a blurb from David Chase on your first book, and it begins with, "After every Sopranos season, part of Joey's wardrobe is missing." Now, you have written about...
Goes missing, right?
Goes missing, yes. Now, you have written about your variety of compulsions.
All I can say is I'm glad I'm not president or a former president.
But you talked about being light-fingered.
Yeah.
It's funny. I talked to Bobby Cannavale years ago.
5-finger discount.
I talked to him years ago, and I don't know how it came up, but I said, "Do you, are you ever tempted to steal anything?" He was like, "Even if there's nothing I want, I will hike a case of water and throw it in the back of my car from set."
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I thought, like, it must be very tempting. But you were somebody who actually would.
Well, if you're staying in a hotel, a bottle of water is $5.
You are. You have an amazing sense of style. You're currently wearing your trademark cap on backwards. Where did you get your sense of style, actually?
In my time, clothing was very important.
What's the most you've ever spent on one garment? Because you describe in your books like specific garments that sound incredibly expensive.
Most of my stuff I steal from the job. I mean, I'm an actor. Why would I have to buy anything?
So you can? This is not like, is this
a lot of times it's in your contract.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That you can take the stuff? So did you take of all, because Ralph, I don't know, there are a couple funny things I found about when you were talking about building the character of Ralph Cifaretto for The Sopranos. First off, and I wondered, it just crossed my mind after reading about how much of a clothes horse you were. It seems like you were made part of the decision that this guy was going to be very fashion forward and he was going to look great and he was going to be influenced by the looks that you like. Did any part of you think, boy, I could really, really use some beautiful suits. I'm going to suggest that Ralph is a fashion plate and I'm going to get to keep all this shit?
No, I grew up in the 50s and I was surrounded by real wise guys. It was a different time. And so Florio was certainly a model, the way my father dressed, but also in terms of I didn't want to blend in with those guys. I didn't want to be wearing, gym suits. What do they call that stuff?
A lot of those sweatsuits.
Sweatsuits, yeah. And so I asked David, I said, look, I really, I want to be able to stand out. I mean, based on the given circumstances, you guys are saying that I'm a good earner and that I work with all the politicians. And so I think that it's important that I would be able to blend in with those politicians. But I also had this idea that, like my father, right? That he, that the one thing that he wanted to be was a wise guy, right? And so he had my father had all of his clothes made, custom made. A guy named Limey on 57th Street and Park Avenue. And he would take me there. He would take me to get where he got his clothing made. But in my mind, I thought that my role model was the Michael Corleone in The Godfather, that I thought that Ralph Cifaretto had seen The Godfather 20 times. And he wanted to be...
Ralphie was flashy. Michael was not, was he?
Michael was very well dressed.
He was very well dressed.
Yeah, and Ralphie wasn't flashy. He was very well dressed, and he wore an ascot. And if you look at The Godfather, Michael wears an ascot. And
so if I made a break for it and left your study and went into your closet, how many Ralphie suits am I going to find?
None.
What?
I don't wear them. I mean, they're at the Smithsonian next to all the...
Literally? You sent them off to the Smithsonian?
No.
What happened to them?
They're in a warehouse. Or I gave them away. I mean, it's 20 years old, for Christ's sakes.
So what? So they're no longer fashion forward? Like you got to switch them out?
Well, you don't. It's like you get tired of wearing stuff. And it wasn't like I raided the wardrobe department. I mean, it's like, it's like I got a couple of suits.
Yeah. So what is that? What do you think is the most valuable thing you pocketed in your life? You did talk about your compulsion to steal.
Listen, the idea of stealing stuff was the high it produced. The idea, the getting away with something. Yeah. It was part of my disease.
Yeah. So it wasn't about the value. It was just about the...
Yeah, and it was like...
Is it like sort of a... Like
it was like shirts. It was like, I couldn't afford to dress nice. So you go to like a department store and you'd clip a couple of shirts, or you'd go in and...
How do you do it?
Well, you bring in rubber bands. You have rubber bands.
Okay.
And then you wear a baggy pair of pants.
Okay.
You put on a pair of pants.
Yeah.
You put the rubber band so it wouldn't fall down.
Okay, good.
And then you put your clothing on over it. And
is the thrill like after you get out of the place?
The anxiety.
I imagine like
walking through that door.
Is it like kind of a cocaine kind of rush? Like
I don't know. I'm not a cocaine addict.
Yeah.
But it was fear, anxiety, and then getting to the other side and nobody.
And is relief sort of like coming? Like you talk about masturbation as well as a compulsion.
I think it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same. It's like, you're escaping that feeling of dread that lives inside of you.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, is it 12:30?
Oh shit, really?
How is that possible?
What time
do we start?
Is it at 1?
Yeah.
Do you want to drive you? Can we finish up after? Can I drive you and then we'll finish up after? All right. Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you. I'm sorry for the singing, but I know in that last bit of tape, I probably sounded pretty cool, but it's very hard for me to express exactly how excited I was at the idea that I was going to be chauffeuring Joey Pants around Connecticut. That I'd be taking him to the Stop and Shop, and then I'd take him to his orthopedist. See, a couple of years ago, Joey was walking around his neighborhood, which is pretty much out in the country, and the last place you'd imagine getting run over, when one car T-bones a Porsche, and the Porsche flies into Joey, throws him into a wooden fence, and cuts him up really bad. Joey actually points out the spot where the accident occurred. So I'm so sorry that this happened and Joey needed to go to the doctor, but I'm so happy that I'm the guy driving him around. So we drive around, we share our homicidal feelings about Trump and January 6 rioters. We learned that we're pretty much both deaf in our left ears. And as I waited in the car in front of his doctor's office, did I fantasize that I was taking Ralph Cifaretto on his collection rounds? I admit I did. And when I drove to a nearby sandwich place as I waited to pick us up something to eat, did I hope they might have gabagool? I did. They did not. This particular sandwich shop, and it's called the Dilly Duck Shop in Norwalk, and it's highly recommended. Specialized in a kind of wasp equivalent, this rotisserie roasted beef sandwich. It was really good. And if you don't believe me, you're going to be able to hear Joey audibly enjoying it in a few moments. Anyway, so Joey gets out of the doctor's office. He opens up the door, sits in the car, pulls down his mask, and he reveals this big dopey smile. This is going to be interesting, he says to me. Joe, we've taken a short break, and circumstances may have changed a little bit. I don't know if this is something you want to talk about, but you seem different.
Well, full disclosure, I had to get a procedure done for my back. I injured my back when I was hit by the car. And so I got an epidural today. And you were kind enough, we were running late. So you were kind enough to take me to the doctor's, wait for me and take me back.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I had to stop at the drugstore to get the 3 Valium that I needed to take for the procedure. And
Which he didn't fucking share. I had no idea there were Valium. I don't know. It would have been an interesting experience. Okay, go ahead, please.
yeah, but if I shared with you, I would have felt it. The whole point. But anyway, I didn't think that far. I was like, okay, so I'll do it to get the procedure. You'll take me back. But now the Valium is kicked in. So, this will be a much more truthful
Okay.
conversation.
We're going to be here for so. I was reading one of your books and it was interesting because I thought that you had written once that you actually were somewhat neurotic and a little phobic about getting hit by a car. And nobody gets fucking hit by a car. And then you got hit by a car. Like,
Well, I was always worried. I was always worried about my children.
Oh, your children.
Always concerned. But I grew up in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is very congested, and I saw a lot of accidents growing up, and so there was a certain amount of trauma growing up, and so I was always vigilant. And then I got hit.
What happened? I mean, I read a description of it. It sounded quite dramatic, actually, what happened.
Yeah, it's actually best that we don't talk about it because there's a lawsuit.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, I was sorry to see it. Are you doing okay?
Well, I have to. There's all this maintenance. I damaged my knee. I had a head trauma. Lost a fair portion of hearing in my left ear, and I have tinnitus, and I get terrible headaches. But as you can see, I had 10 stitches along with the head trauma.
That is awful. I mean, I don't know. You're constantly working. Has it affected your work? I mean, is it making it difficult?
When I was hit by the car, that's almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was the beginning of COVID. So at that point, nobody was working.
Yeah. When I read that, I was somewhat, and I mean, ironically, right now we're talking about this, but I really loved your second memoir, Asylum, about, your first memoir deals with your childhood in Hoboken. Your second deals mostly with your mental struggles, chemical struggles, and your career, like basically from the beginning. And one of the things you battled was opioids. I mean, I thought, this fucking guy gets hit by, what do you do if you get hit by a car and you have had issues with this? Is this something that you had to deal with?
You don't take them. Yeah, no, what they call honorable addicted personality. I had burned myself on the set of Sopranos. I was doing a scene with Peter Riegert and Jim Gandolfini, and it was a conversation in a steam room where you have privacy and no chance of being recorded. And they used, the special effects team used these steam machines and smoke to give the illusion that you're in the steam room, because you can't actually be in the steam room because then the lenses fog up. And I accidentally walked into a steam pipe that they were using for the effect, and I burned myself, like first or second degree burns. And so they gave me painkillers for the pain. And they spoke to me. Now, I never knew that painkillers were heroin. I didn't know that the difference between Vicodin and Percocet was basically the aspirin, Tylenol. It's either Tylenol, it's cut with Tylenol, or it's cut with aspirin. I didn't know this.
That's the only difference between Vicodin and Percocet?
Yeah.
No fucking, I didn't know that.
It's all heroin, except some of it's got these other elements to it. But it spoke to me because I was going through a period of sadness, and I remember thinking that this medication that helped with the pain also put a bounce in my step. it made me feel good, not high. Just
See, it's funny because I always think of like opioids as being like major kind of downers, but you actually, but then there are people who are, I mean, they obviously really enjoy it, but you say bounce in your step, like did it give you like energy, or was it just sort of psychological bounce?
it just made me feel happy, like I wasn't depressed.
Yeah.
It eliminated the depression.
No shit.
But
That's
then
dangerous.
But then you take 2, and then you need to take 3, and then it's like with jogging. For years, I jogged. That feeling would come over me. I'd put on my sneakers. I'd go run for 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and the feeling would go away. I'd feel good. It didn't have a resistance where I would jog and then I needed to jog 40 minutes or 50 minutes or 80 minutes.
30 minutes would do it and you'd be
30
done.
minutes would do it.
Yeah.
And the idea of taking opioids for my foot pain, well, the truth is that when I went into rehab and I started taking Advil, the Advil worked just as well. So I was also victimized by the sales of this stuff.
Did you do like the 90 days? Was there an intervention?
There was an intervention. There was somewhat of an intervention with the family. And then there was a doctor. I was seeing my psychiatrist at the time, and we were trying to get off of it that way. And then we did a process, an outpatient process.
Yeah. Joe, I want to play for you a clip right now from, this is one of my favorite scenes from The Matrix. At this point, I'd like to play the steak scene.
Do we have a deal, Mr. Reagan?
I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
Then we have a deal.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing. You understand? And I want to be rich. Someone important. Like an actor.
Whatever you want.
I have heard so much lately in the last couple of years since Trump about like red pilling and how many references to the Matrix and how basically this world we're living in is a simulation. And, especially on the right, you're hearing a lot. I mean, QAnon, I think, references the Matrix a lot. Do you feel like, are you and I sitting here together? Are we actually is this a simulation? Do you feel like there is such a thing as a red pill? Are most people sheeple who need to have the scales removed from their eyes so that they can see what the world is actually like?
I always saw it as the idea of choosing critical thinking, choosing the truth over the manipulation. Mm-hmm. Cypher, when you consider the backstory of Cypher, that wasn't in the movie, but he was unplugged. He was recruited by Morpheus. He was given an opportunity of choice. He chose. He was there a long time. He had doubt. All of the characters in that Matrix, first one, they blindly followed Morpheus. They were almost emotionless and almost robotic. They never had doubt. Cypher had doubt. He believed that he had made the wrong choice. At the point when we introduced to him, he's already fallen in love with Trinity. Mm-hmm. This is a woman that he'll never have. And he's he's lost. He's like, why? Why did I do this? Why didn't I take the blue pill? Why didn't I go back to ignorance?
Yeah.
So when he gets an opportunity to go back into the matrix, to choose a new profession, and to have a cognitive understanding that he will have no memory of betraying and murdering his friends. He says, I don't want to remember anything. And I want to come back as somebody important. It's like Aladdin, right?
He wants to be an
that he gets to rub that lantern, and when he wakes up, he's a movie star getting a blowjob from a beautiful French actress smoking a Monte Cristo #1, and never knowing what he had done. Now, who wouldn't take that deal? What people always say? Oh, you were the traitor. Well, just like in the movies, if you play a traitor in the movies, there's no retribution. You're just acting. And in this case, he would have been reinstated back in the Matrix, never knowing that he was ever out of it.
Did you talk to the Wachowskis about that line that he wanted to become an actor?
They did that. I think it was an inside joke on their part, because people think actors have all this power. And actors don't have any power. Movie stars have power. He didn't say, I want to be a movie star.
He didn't. He said he wanted to be an actor.
Yeah, somebody
and they thought
important.
That was hilarious?
Somebody important like an actor. Yeah, actors have no power.
Well, I mean, sometimes they have a little power. And I have to imagine it's got to be great being in Bad Boys in 1995. But you know what's got to be greater? Being in Bad Boys 2 in 2003. You know what's got to be even greater than that? Being in Bad Boys for Life in 2020. I have to imagine the money probably gets better as the sequels go on, correct?
Correct.
And there's a few examples. I think Robert Downey Jr. did not get along with who's the black actor who has a reputation as being somewhat difficult.
On what job?
He was in the superhero movie, in the first Iron Man movie, and they replaced him.
They replaced Downey?
Was it Hustle and what was he? Who was the guy in Hustle and Flow?
I don't know. I don't even know what that is.
You don't know Hustle and Flow? See, this is like I'm getting 50 fucking, like I can't remember.
You should have your computer.
I can't
IMDb.
remember anything. Hustle and hold on. Hustle and Flow. That's what the future of this fucking podcast is me interviewing people, and neither one of us are going to be able to remember.
You have to have
shit.
your iPad in front of you. You know, and as you get more successful, you'll have an assistant talking into your ear.
Terrence Howard did the first Iron Man movie, and I don't know whether it was about money, but it was one of the few exceptions of you make a second Iron Man movie, and there's another black actor playing his character.
Another guy.
So how if you are in the first Bad Boys movie, obviously, if Joey Pants wants a lot of money, he'll get a lot of money. If he wants too much money, somehow Joey Pants is not going to appear in the movie, right?
Correct.
How do you negotiate that?
Oh gosh, you also have to be lucky. Luck plays a big part in all of this.
But Joe, tell me, could there be a brinksmanship?
It's not a lot of
Could you
Joey
say
Pants a lot of money is way different than Will Smith a lot of money, or Martin Lawrence a lot of money, or Harrison Ford a lot of money. I didn't break the bank. I never broke.
But is there a brinksmanship? An agent has to know how far they can go before somebody's going to tell them to go fuck themselves. And do you like to go that far?
Yeah, and sometimes you. I think I walked away on Bad Boys.
You did?
Yeah, I think so.
Which one? On the second one?
The second one. I think I walked away on the second one.
Did you? Is that just a?
They came back.
Is that a play? You say you're walking away?
No, you got to walk away. There's no play in it. There are situations where you say, okay, I don't want to blow this. So make the best deal you can, but don't blow it. And then, and so will say, I think that's as far as it's going to go.
Yeah.
They're going to go to the second choice.
Can there be a second choice if the
There's
part's
always
already
a second
been cast?
choice.
The guy's cousin is going to come in and say, oh yeah.
Doesn't matter. They can rewrite shit. You know, it's like everybody's replaceable.
Yeah.
Everybody.
If you had told me back in 2020 that one of the major stars of the Bad Boy franchise was going to slap the host of the Oscars, I would have been like, well, right after Bad Boys in 1996, Martin Lawrence was arrested in Sherman Oaks with a gun, threatening people and screaming. And Will Smith was America's sweetheart. I would have said it's probably Martin Lawrence.
Life evolves. You know, it's like, in the old days, I mean, my first look, I know Chris and I know Will, and the two of the nicest, realist, good guys. They're the good guys. But it's like, it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have happened. And I feel bad. I feel bad because I know what good guys they are.
Yeah.
And it's just.
I see something like that, and I think that person doesn't live on the same planet. I mean, they try to say stars, they're just like you, and I watch that, and I just think...
But we're not stars. It's like people make us stars, but, we have a whole series of situations that we take with. That's our baggage. We use that baggage to create characters. We use our own hurt and our own pain and our own... The emotional evolution of who we are, and we bravely put them into the characters to get out... To sublimate all of that pain.
Was Martin as advertised? Was he as because he's sort of known as an eccentric.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was first for me.
Really? Oh, I think that part of the Tracee Jordan character on 30 Rock was based on Martin Lawrence's exploits.
I think Martin and Will have evolved. That one of the great pleasures of doing Bad Boys for Life was to see how we have evolved, to see how my friends have evolved into middle-aged men with children. And Martin is just a wonderful guy, and so is Will. And I owe it to them that I think that I was able to get on board with Bad Boys 2, that maybe the studio would have been willing to cut me loose to get a cheaper actor in there.
Yeah. They stood up for you?
But I think they fought for me.
I bet you're fun to have around.
Huh?
I bet you're fun to have around.
I think that's my greatest success.
Documentary you made a few years ago. It's about mental illness, and it was called No Kidding, Me Too. It's super interesting because there are these moments of confrontation, because you sat your kids down, your kids' friends down, you sat your wife down, and they all talked about your shortcomings. When was it when you were depressed or when you were using, or both?
I think it was, just what it was like to live with him.
Yeah. They painted a picture of somebody who was, we heard a couple stories about you being quick to anger in restaurants. A lot of shouting, that your wife said that you sometimes overshared with guests. She said there was one where Nancy is a beautiful woman. I was really taken with the fact that she said that you had told people at a dinner party about her farting in bed. And I'm really surprised that your marriage actually lasted through that. I don't know if I could survive talking at a dinner party about my wife farting in bed. That must have been a very, very secure doghouse to crawl out of.
Well, you have to understand that, Nancy is such a beautiful woman. I mean, just, stunning and pristine. And in my own narrow-minded idea of wanting to marry the Irish spring girl, that I literally thought that women like Nancy didn't fart, and if they did, their fart smelled like vanilla ice cream. I was surprised that she was human.
And this was the point that you were making.
Yeah, I was complimenting her.
I guess she didn't take it that way.
Well, she never got angry. I mean, she's gotten angry. I've got my wife to punch me in the nose. I got her so mad at me.
What'd you do?
Oh, I said something that's really hit a nerve.
Okay. Well, you don't have to share it. I don't want her to hit you again. But I mean, did you? You were a guy who wrote a lot about drinking a lot as a young man and trying to get laid. Did you have that period after say Risky Business, where you had the life of somebody who went into a place and was recognized and could potentially have sex because of that?
Well, where it's when what man doesn't fantasize. You have to be completely honest. One of the reasons why I wanted to be an actor is because I wanted to be accessible. I wanted women to desire me. It came from a deep-rooted sense of low self-esteem, self-loathing. That the idea that the only way I could get a woman to find me attractive is I would have to get them drunk along with myself, to let their guard down, to surrender to my mediocrity.
So did you? So you didn't?
It was the culture.
Eventually, you got to a point where you didn't have to get them drunk because you were a guy that they'd seen in the movies, no? And you walked in, and there's probably a big deal made about you. And
I don't know about that. There's just like there's no easy money. There's no, what's easily attainable is not worth having. And I think celebrity is a very dangerous apparatus that once achieved, you can use it to get people to vote for you, what have you. I think it's, it's like, has no real value, it has no nourishment. It's like a very pretty chocolate Easter bunny. Mm-hmm. But when you open it up, it's hollow.
Right.
You look at Easter bunny, it looks solid and strong and has weight and girt. And then you break off an ear and it comes crumbling down.
I want to play a very short clip from The Sopranos, which I remember, I think it was the famous Columbus Day episode. And it was a whopper of a scene. You're playing it with Aida Turturro, who played Janice Soprano. And I think what you're going to hear is you getting, I guess the word is pegged. Fucked in the ass with a dildo, right?
That's a very gross description.
I'm sorry. This is a very dirty scene, Joe. Joe, this was
it was a love scene. I'm sure you've enjoyed having inanimate objects shoved up your ass. It was a love scene.
How much money did you make today, slut?
300.
That's all, bitch? Oh, I'm gonna put you back on the street, hoe. Make you work that ass.
Put me back on the street, baby, yeah.
Work that ass, you little cunt.
Yeah, you work it, baby.
Mama's a little tramp. Mama's a little who? I'm gonna pimp you out, bitch.
Yeah. I gotta get that. Hello.
She's calling you a whore. She says that you got to go out and make some money because you're a dirty little whore.
So it was.
Was it written as you getting pegged?
I guess so. Yeah. It was like a reenactment. Ralph had serious issues. He was sexually abused by his mother's boyfriends. And he had sexual identity issues. He was also ambitious. So he was looking to move up the totem pole by marrying Tony's sister.
Yeah.
Because he thought it was a good career move.
He certainly had sexual issues, but when you get those pages, as a guy of your generation coming from Hoboken,
I called up David and I said, it's Joey. And he started laughing. And I said, what are you doing to me? He goes, don't worry about it. It's only a couple episodes.
So it's possible I'm going to get my podcast license suspended for doing this, but I think I need to pull this show over for a minute. If you're an actor or a Sopranos fan, I highly recommend that before listening to the rest of this episode, you go into our show notes and you click on the scene from season 4, episode 9 of The Sopranos. This is the scene when Ralphie confronts his pregnant stripper girlfriend, Tracee, in the parking lot behind the Bada Bing. So I admit, sometimes my eyes do glaze over when I hear actors talking about their choices or their process or their craft. But if you really want to know how really, really good actors put the so-called meat on the bones of their characters, you're going to love hearing Joey talk about what went into this role and this particular scene. I'm going to play a bit of that scene now, but seriously, watch the entire 4.5-minute scene if you want to be reminded of the kind of work that won Joey that Emmy in 2003.
What are you being like this for?
Fuck you. 3 days you don't call, even to see how I am.
Baby, I'm busy. I gotta work. How else am I gonna take care of you when you're 9 months pregnant?
You serious?
Of course I'm serious. We'll get a little house. In Cold Snake. I know that guy who was a mortgage broker.
Really? Ralphie, I love you.
I love you too, baby. Hey, if it's a boy, we'll name him after me. If it's a girl, we'll name her Tracee after you. This way she can grow up to be a cocksucking slob, just like her mother. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Get him, motherfucking piece of shit!
That's right. That's right. Get it all out. Get it all out, you little hooah.
It make you feel good? You feel like a man?
Yes, where Ralphie kills Tracee was one of the more shocking scenes I'd seen on TV. Did people react to you in any way after that scene? Did people like walk the other way? I mean, it was so shocking to see a man
on the street
beat a woman to death on TV. I can't remember ever seeing that before. And
a lead into that is I had done a couple of scenes. There was a scene where I'm with Jackie Jr. and I've got to make a collection at a garbage refuse, and the guy's been holding out on us. Mm-hmm. And while we were doing, you know, you read the scene and you have the bones of the scene, the logical behavior of what the author is trying to say. And I noticed that the guy threw the first punch. It may be in the season 3 where I take young Jackie to make a pickup, a financial pickup, and there's a guy, a wonderful actor, I forget his name right now, but I'm asking him for money, and he doesn't want to give us money. And I'm saying, this is something, words to the effect like, and I noticed that there was an airplane, a model airplane on the guy's desk next to a phone. So I asked the prop guy, I says, how many of these airplanes do you have? It's the only one. That's set dressing. So I went to the director and I said, look, I have an idea. Let me know what you think. I said, I want to needle this guy. I want to piss him off. So what I want to do is in this sequence, I want to take the telephone and at some point I want to smash his airplane. And when he, you know, and that could be the impetus where he picks up the baseball bat and comes for me. But I also want to get wardrobe to put little cuts in his pants so that when I go to take his wallet, I want to have the ability to tear the back of his pants off so that I have the pants and the pants pocket and the wallet in my hand. And we did all that. And it played great. Now the Tracee scene comes in, and you read the dialogue, and you do a table read, and you discuss it with David and his team, sometimes with his other writers. And I said, there's a pattern. I don't even know if you guys are understanding this, if it's intentional, but it seems like every time Ralph hits somebody, it's a retaliation of being hit first. And you've written this scene so that he says what he says, and then she spits in his face, and then he hits her.
Right.
And so that's a pattern that he needles you to the point where you you strike out. And if you play that scene, you'll see she hits me, scratches me, and I do this, and I see blood,
Yeah.
and it's a blackout. It's not like he blacks out. He goes into a rage, and when he comes out of the rage, she's dead, and he has to do a cover up.
Yeah. He doesn't do much of a cover up. Didn't he say she slips?
That's a cover up.
Is that a cover up? Yeah.
She slipped.
Yeah.
Can I help it if she's a klutz?
Yeah.
He never says I hit her.
Just what you've described, is this the process of all good actors? It sounds like there's more directing in it than I would imagine.
Well, it's the training. How do you behavioralize? It's one thing what the author is telling you to say, but how do you say it? Mm-hmm. What's the behavior? What are you doing? What are you doing? That can also be very interesting. Like when I went back into that bar, I went to a bar corner and I stuck my hands in this champagne ice,
right,
to cool my hands down from beating her. Those are the choices I made.
That was your choice to put your hands in the ice?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, it's one of the most memorable things in the scene. The first thing you do is you put your hand in it.
Yeah,
very fucking disturbing.
Writers, good writers, like David Chase, like some of the like Chris Nolan, like the Wachowskis, they really appreciate when an actor comes in and enhances.
Yeah.
They want good actors to make their material, to elevate their material.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative medium.
I don't know if you were directly after, but you followed Stanley Tucci and Edie Falco into Frankie and Johnny on Broadway. It was your Broadway debut. Famously, the play begins with a very long nude scene, a sex scene, and somebody gets out of bed and they're naked. And so you have to spend a lot of time naked on stage, and
not a lot of time, 5 pages.
5 pages.
4 minutes.
I think it would be hard to be...
Not even that much, because you're in bed first.
Was it hard to be naked in front of people?
The naked part was the easiest part. Getting emotionally naked throughout those 2 acts that followed, that was the hard part.
Why?
Because you had to bare your soul. Every night I was up there with my entire family, killing off loved ones, my dogs, drudging up emotion, talking to my mother, to my sister. It's a family affair. When you're acting, a lot of times I've got to use my own personal history and my own regrets and traumas to fulfill the characters.
It was such an intimate experience, and I don't know if it was the intimacy of being naked together or doing the play together or just working together. I think romances bloom. I mean, Edie Falco and Stanley Tucci ended up together for a while. He left his wife.
I like to say that play either inspires people winding up fucking each other or wanting to fucking kill each other. And Rosie and I were the latter.
Yeah? Why do you think you didn't get on with Rosie Perez?
We get along now, but we pushed each other's buttons. It was pretty bad. And also, doing a play is a motherfucker. I look back at my career, and I've done some really interesting plays. I did the original production of Orphans. I did the original productions of John Patrick Shanley's Italian-American Reconciliation. The emotional anxiety, fear, rage in going and putting together these characters. When you do a movie, you're isolated. You may have a table reading, but after they start shooting, you're on a call sheet, and they, it's like, we need you at 5:00.
Yeah.
Or you're on hold the next day, and so you have airtime from each other. When you're in a play, you're in the dressing rooms, you're in the basement. Shit happens. Things are always going on. It's difficult. I must say, it's a very, very challenging time doing a play. I'd rather dig ditches.
You'd rather dig ditches than do plays?
Yeah, digging ditches is less stressful.
Joey Pants, how are you feeling right now? Are you feeling any pain?
I'm as high as a kite.
Are you? How high? Tell me your highness from 1 to 10. How high are you from 1 to 10?
Well, I'm not high. I'm just relaxed. You know, what is it? What did they give me?
Say Vicodin?
No, it wasn't Vicodin.
Percocet? No.
No, it wasn't an opioid. I don't have the jar anymore. It's a muscle relaxant.
Yeah.
So I'm very relaxed.
Very relaxed?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say, like, do you think Ralphie would take a muscle relaxer before getting pegged by Janice in The Sopranos?
Yeah, you know, he would need that and a lot of lubricant.
Joey Pants, I can't tell you. I mean, we had an adventure together. We went to a doctor's appointment. We went to a drugstore.
Very unorthodox.
Very
this
unorthodox.
This has been a very interesting 7 hours.
I really appreciate the time.
I appreciate that you had the time to do this with me. Who were some of the big shots you interviewed?
I did Michael J. Fox. I did.
Okay, I love Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Did you buy him a sandwich?
I did not buy Michael J. Fox a sandwich. I would have bought Michael J. I would have done
Yeah,
it.
but you didn't.
I didn't.
Michael, I got a sandwich and you didn't.
I didn't. And I'm trying to think. Nobody can compete. I didn't buy a sandwich for anybody.
And it's a good sandwich.
And it's possible. I would say possibly between 25 and 30% were probably fucked up on prescription drugs when I did the interview. But,
probably.
But none of them admitted it quite the way that you did, Joey.
Well, you know, I had to go get an operation.
Yeah. You had an excuse. Joey, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
That's our show. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, leave us a nice review, and share it with all the Sopranos and Joey Pants fans in your life. This episode is produced by myself, Andrew Goldman, and Rob Heath, who swears that he's never in his life used lube, except, of course, when preparing the Heath's family Brunswick stew recipe. It's hard to believe, but apparently Astroglide is an amazing emulsifier. Special thanks to the incredibly beautiful and always wonderfully smelling Nancy Pantoliano. Thanks to the entire team at Los Angeles Magazine, notably Kevin Dolek, Eric Mercado, Andrew Curry, and Silver Fox editor Mayor Rashan. Thanks to Folio Magazine for awarding the Originals with an Eddie Award for Best City or Regional Magazine Podcast. I have to admit, before being nominated, I was not all that familiar with the Eddies and Aussie Awards, but since being nominated, I've educated myself and now understand that it's incredibly prestigious. It's basically like getting both the Oscar and Nobel in one award. The Originals is, as always, a highly replaceable production.